Julie Schmidt. I'm the president of Port Coquitlam Heritage and Cultural Society. I've been volunteering for 15 years because I think it's very, very important that we conserve the stories of the people from Port Coquitlam for future generations. And so I feel very interested to try and gather people's stories so we have them for people. The stories that we get today will be the history in 50 years and in 100 years. Over the past 150 years, the demographics of Port Coquitlam have changed very drastically. We now have over 50 different nationalities making Port Coquitlam or the Tri-Cities their home. Up to 30% of our population speaks a different language other than English and French.
Because this is Canada's 150th birthday, we sat down and as a group really wanted to look at what could we do that it sort of takes a look back. We know that as a community, obviously our population has grown a lot, but it's also diversified a lot. It's changed in terms of the composition of the community. So we came up with this concept of journeys, because in order for Port Coquitlam to get to where it is today, everyone had a journey to go on. And we combined that with also looking at the connections part of it, which is once people got here and went through the challenges that they went through to get here, how did they then in turn remain in touch with family and friends back home? You know, in Canada's 150th birthday, we wanted to make sure that we had something to remember this exhibit by, and particularly this milestone year in Canada's history.
I was born in Denmark, a little place called Udby, spelled U-D-B-Y.
We were born in Sudbury, Ontario.
Yes, both of us.
I was born and raised up in Hong Kong, and my parents, they're from China, the mainland China.
My grandparents came from Germany and from, I think it was called Prussia, outside of Russia, and came to Gem, Alberta, and came to the Fraser Valley.
I was born in Mauritius. It's a tiny island in between of South Africa and Australia, in the middle of the ocean technically.
Terry Fleming, born in McBride, British Columbia, up near Mount Terry Fox. Of course it wasn't Mount Terry Fox then.
So first off, my aunt, who currently still lives in PoCo, she originally came to the Philippines because to escape the poverty in there. And so she sponsored my mom 10 years later to come to Canada. And so at the time, my mom and my dad were still dating.
My family came in 1962 to Fort St. John, BC to work on the railroad. My dad came, there was a job opportunities worldwide, so he came with my mom and my sister. She was 2.
My mom is from Trinidad and Tobago in the West Indies, in the Caribbean, and my dad is from England, so every year we participated, like we would go to the North Vancouver Caribbean Days festivities and whatnot.
I was born in Egypt, in Cairo, Egypt, where my family is from, and I came to Canada around 19-20 years ago.
I was born in Winnipeg, better known as Winterpeg, and I've always wanted to move to the West Coast.
My great-great-grandparents came from Italy, Germany, Scotland, and England, so a little bit of everywhere. I think my mom's grandparents, I believe they came through Ellis Island in New York, but that's really all I know.
Basically, all my relatives are Scandinavian pirates, if you go back far enough.
My grandparents both left Newfoundland, both sets left Newfoundland to come out here to the West Coast, and I always thank my grandfather for that. Came to the best place.
My father's from St. Lucia in the Caribbean, and my mother's from Guyana in South America. My father moved here, I believe back in 1976, to Winnipeg, from where he was from.
And I guess one thing they're a little bit reluctant on is that the Philippines is such a tropical country. So when they first came to Canada, it was like a shock to them when they saw winter. They've never seen snow before. So that was one interesting thing that they always kept with them.
I was born in England, close to London. And I and I came to Canada when I was very young because my father was transferred to Montreal.
We flew to Vancouver, and I cried all the way because I was saying goodbye to my friends and my family. But I was also very excited about coming out here and actually living in amongst the mountains. I was very happy about that.
I got here in 1995 from the Fiji Islands via air.
I came from the hospital and then came to my house, which was in Port Coquitlam, so yeah.
I like the most I love about Port Coquitlam is its small town feel, its beautiful trail, and biggest of all, its friendly people.
The people are very kind here. The trails are nice. It's fun going to like the pools. And I like their sports and all that.
When my mom came to Port Coquitlam in 1974, she loved the community that was here. There's only 20,000 people here at that time. But every year, when I was a kid, we'd go to May Day. I was a maypole dancer in elementary school and came every year for this May Day parade. And I mean, to me, that's the biggest tradition that we've had. And in recent years, we seem to be adding more.
We do have a lot of Caribbean dishes at home to eat, so that's pretty nice.
What are some of your favorites?
Oh yeah, I love roti with chicken curry. That's just delicious like that.
We have this one thing of a big feast that we call a kamayan, and what it involves is that we put food on a lot of banana leaves, and we eat food. We just put food like straight up onto the table on the banana leaves, and we just eat with our hands. Yeah, so we have no dishes or whatnot. We just eat with our hands. We try to arrange it nicely, but it gets messy. And we usually do this on birthdays, and it's something I always look forward to whenever it rolls around. So that's one main tradition that we keep.
We brought across things such as our religious holidays, which we celebrate with fervor, that has been passed down to us over the generations. Along with that, we also love celebrating things such as Thanksgiving, Christmas, and most of all, Canada Day.
Exactly the same thing I was going to say.
Sweets, yes, the pastel de nata, which is a breakfast little custard tart. They're fabulous. They originated in Lisbon, and I've been there to the castle where they make those original pastries. That's one of my favorite.
I wouldn't say I have any particular traditions that I have here necessarily, although my accent is stuck. So my kids have to put up with that, my wife has to put up with that, and I get to bore them with all kinds of stories saying, oh, when I was a boy.
My mum's family is mostly from England, and my dad's family is Ukrainian, going back a long way. And in my own family, we've managed to blend the traditions of both cultures.
Italian food especially. My grandparents made the best spaghetti sauce and meatballs, so my mom still makes that now.
It's always good to make new traditions, things that we're doing. Family lives far away now. We've got California, we've got up north of Campbell River, so we're starting to do new traditions at Christmas time and other times of the year.
At Christmas time, a traditional Ukrainian food is kutya, which is made with wheat and honey and poppy seeds
and nuts.
And we try to have that usually at Christmas.
And we also, my mother had a long tradition of making homemade petahat and cabbage rolls. We would have that basically any special occasion, if it was a birthday or Christmas or just any time we were getting together, she would make those things for us.
This is one of the main things we really love, there as, Middle Eastern. Like we came here, we have no family. So we're missing all this part. So we started getting to the new culture, which is the Canadian culture.
When my parents was still alive, usually we will have a family get together during Chinese New Year or the Mid-Autumn Festival, or now that they're already in heaven.
So everybody did a lot of visiting back and forth. We lived in a community that had a lot of Danes. We had a church there they went to.
I don't know, our family was always about being together. And Christmas was probably the one time that the most of our family got together.
Christmas in summer is actually really cool. I mean, a lot of people here, when I describe it to people here in Canada, they'll say it sounds weird. To me, it's not weird because it's what I grew up with. So I've experienced Christmas both ways, when it's hot and when it's cold. It's pretty good because everybody has Christmas dinner at lunchtime, and then just about everybody goes into the backyard, adults and kids alike, and plays a game of backyard cricket on Christmas afternoon. Or some people will go and get fresh prawns on Christmas Day, and they'll have prawns on the beach.
On my dad's side of the family, on the Ukrainian side, I know a lot of people do Ukrainian Christmas, but in our house I think the more Ukrainian traditions are actually at Easter time. My dad always hard boils one egg, and then we slice it up into however many slices there are people at the table, and we all have to share a piece of that one hard boiled egg, and say the traditional Ukrainian saying, which I will probably butcher, but it's something like Christos Visnach, which means Christ is risen. Our family isn't even very religious, but we always do that one thing at Easter. That is part of our Ukrainian heritage.
We like the steel pan music, so we'd be playing that, things like that. And on a Sunday night, sometimes we'd have roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, or things like that. So it's the Caribbean aspect and the British aspect, and then come together, and then obviously the Canadian aspects as well.
We kind of keep in touch, sort of. It's like we always send them parcels back home every year during Christmas, or if there's like a very special occasion, like someone's birthday, and we send them 2 huge parcels filled with food, clothes, books, and whatever they ask for, just as like a thank you, or hey, we still care about you type of deal. So that's pretty fun to do. Usually
phone, text, and that's it. I don't email, I don't Facebook. I'm not very good technically that way. I'm not a great typer. But no, I try to keep and see people. I just phone them and get together.
I have cousins and relatives spread out all over Canada and some into the United States, and I'm connected with most of them on social media and can follow their families and what's going on with them. When I was a teenager and younger, I used to have at least a couple of my cousins who were my pen pals, and I would, we would write letters, but we haven't done that in years.
Of course, when I first moved here in 2002, it was mostly email. Since then, social media has taken over, obviously. It's been an absolutely wonderful thing that I can keep in touch with so many friends back in Australia and across Canada using social media, keeping up with their news. Absolutely wonderful that we can do that. My folks don't use social media, but they did manage to learn how to use email, so we use phone and email for those.
All 3 girls moved once they got married, so mainly through phone and internet. Internet's been, or Skype has been the way that we've connected with our daughter down in California. And I remember the first time that we did connect, the look on her face and how she was just, I finally connected with you guys. So yeah, that was neat.
Now I'm talking to a lot of family in Portugal through the internet, through Facebook Messenger. I haven't talked to some of my cousins in years, and now I'm like talking regularly to them. So it's a really good thing. That's how I keep in touch now.
Like when I came in 2001, phone call was a bit, you get $5 card, you talk to in Iraq like 5 minutes, that's it. You say hello, goodbye, 5 minutes gone. So, letters. Then after the regime fall in Iraq, like 2003, the communication got really better, way better than now. Then the social media and those smartphones came, so make things way better.
I used to write a lot of letters, and like everything would be done by letter or sometimes by phone, but not that much because we were very frugal about how much we spent on the phone bill. And nowadays it's more email.
Especially nowadays, and everything is so wireless and so easy. We always in touch with them like by phone, by Skype of course, but we try to go as frequently as we can, fly over to our country. As we say, like we try to do it every year, but it does not work that way. So it's like every 2 years, I would say.
Yeah. Mine's a little bit different because way back when I came here, airmail, like letters, was the thing you had to do, and then that progressed into phone calls, which was also super expensive, and that progressed into email, and then phone calls became a lot cheaper, so it went back to phone calls, and now it's just Skype. You just pick up your phone, Skype or WhatsApp or whatever, you just do video calls, and it's almost every day you get to watch whoever's far away, and it seems like they're just next door.
Now the only distance is as much as a high-speed connection. Back in the day, we still remember trying to call our grandparents and making an appointment so they could get to the phone in time. While today, as of last week, my 92-year-old grandfather is doing FaceTime with us. So we feel more connected. The distance is sort of minimized by technology.
Well, I grew up, you've got a telephone in there with a hand crank on it. I was born in 1939, so we had one of those phones that you cranked. And we probably had two numbers as well, 2 digits in the phone. In fact, I'm not even sure you did a digit. I think it was just, you gave your name. It was a pretty small exchange. That was in Prince George. But
yeah, we've got some family that we keep in touch with that are now in the States, and Scotland and England and Italy that we do keep in touch through social media, and they've come to visit, and I've been over to the UK to see some of them, and so there's still some of that contact there, even though they're pretty extended.
Mostly through social media, email, WhatsApp, different types of music conversation like that.
I use telephone, still use telephone, and actually over the years that hasn't really changed because I still have a landline, so I guess I don't know. I'm probably haven't caught up with everyone else, but so that part hasn't changed. Not too much email for family, mostly email, just friends around.
But we do use it. It is something new that definitely, like my aunt will email us and we'll send an email back.
We live right beside each other, so I guess there's
Well, my aunt is in Ontario.
Yeah. So yeah, between us, no, for sure. We can almost shout at each other.
Yeah.
I volunteer for both Coquitlam and Port Coquitlam City because I'm retired. I need to find something that I like to do, that's something I can connect with the community and the people. So I volunteer with the city of Coquitlam as well as I started volunteering with Port Coquitlam, I think, since the PoCo Grand Prix.
There's space for everybody, there's a genuine sense of community. The city is well run, there's plenty of parks, we don't have to deal with massive traffic or anything like that. And of course we're really, really close to plenty of parks, recreation areas, facilities, without having to be, I suppose, hemmed in the sort of gridlock that is commonplace in Vancouver and Burnaby.
Well, I really like that we're by all these rivers. We got the Pitt River, the Fraser River, all these rivers that join together, and so many hiking trails, so many places to go bike riding. You go somewhere else and you just come back and it's great. It's green. There's so much to do here.
I like the bike trail at 15 kilometers around PoCo, and I don't know whether other communities have that unique feature, but yeah, it's great. Good vision on whoever thought that up.
We have the privilege of having so many things that other people in other part of the world don't have. like the freedom, the multiculturalism.
It's got that small town kind of feel where usually if I'm walking through downtown PoCo, I see people that I know and can say hello. Lots of nature with the parks and the trails, and there's been a lot of community events that are really nice to come to check out, and I like that.
Despite PoCo growing, especially in the past few years, it still maintains like this small town feel, which both my parents love because they don't really like hyper urban like Vancouver, but PoCo is just like a nice balance between, you know, it's still convenient to go with the stores and whatnot, say hi to all the people, as well as the nature and everything that PoCo provides.
When I grew up here, this is a place that I've always been comfortable around. Like, the people here are so nice and so comforting, so welcoming, I would find. And that's really rubbed off on me, I'd say. Just the atmosphere is just so warm and welcoming.
I was driving along to the lake, Winnipeg Beach, and I felt this horrible feeling, like it was like something I'd never felt before. And then I suddenly realized there were no sort of boundaries on the horizon. There were no mountains. And it was like that sort of, I guess it's called agoraphobic kind of a feeling. And I thought, wow, I really do miss those mountains.
Oh, I love Canada. It's my favoriteest place. Port Coquitlam. I love the water. I love the mountains. I love the people. I've always had a really good time here in my whole life. I visited other places, and still I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Common sense is respect for others. It's very prevalent from where we come from back home. It's very prevalent here, so it makes us a lot more comfortable, and it's going to be really good for the kids too. So we try to involve them into pretty much anything that kind of shows them that, hey, this is the way to go. This is how you interact within the community. You have to be better with other people, pretty much.
Here I love, well, for one thing, the climate. If you've ever grown up in Montreal, you know that you don't like snow unless you're one of those people who skis or something like that. And I like the mountains and just like the scenery. It's just beautiful here. So yeah, and I live right next to a river, so it's all like there's so much wildlife, except some of them are bears, which we don't really like to have in our complex, but we do.
I have this feeling that this Port Coquitlam has always been my home. Good feelings.
So it's nice to learn about all the different cultures that we have and everyone's backgrounds, and we try to teach them about Port Coquitlam as well. And a couple of years ago we did a little field trip over to Hyde Creek to try to get them out to see some of the things out in nature, and we did a salmon release actually.
What I like about Port Coquitlam is it's not so busy as it is in Vancouver. And one of the first things when I moved out here, I saw children again. When I lived in the West End of Vancouver, I never saw children.
Even though I have moved from Port Coquitlam to Coquitlam, I'm always attached here. I come here to do my painting and all my artistic endeavors.
Where we come from, it's very multicultural. Mauritius is very multicultural, so we got the same feel here, especially where we are right now. We have a tight-knit community, and it's all the different cultures that mingles into like one community, and that's been really one of the key features we've been looking to like show our kids.
The suburbs were much more attractive, especially with kids. A lot greener, a lot of bigger sense of community. So we checked out a lot of the suburbs, but Coquitlam is pretty much what we liked. And the dogs too.
I love Port Coquitlam. Just has a great sense of community. I've really been able to immerse myself in a lot of things in the community. My son played hockey. He still does play hockey. I coach hockey. My daughter was in Girl Guides. I was a Girl Guide leader. I'm a member of Seroptimus International in the Tri-Cities, which is a local service club for women. I've been doing that for 18 years in the community. And I've met amazing people and made tons of connections in the Tri-Cities because of those organizations.
Well, I'm glad that PoCo, Port Coquitlam, takes on all these festivities that they do. They're very community orientated. And with Lee Square wasn't here when we first moved here. We had the old Bailey Bridge. We didn't have the Maryhill bypass. Things have changed a lot since we came to Port Coquitlam. But I find that Port Coquitlam is very engaged with the community and things that they do, and that we can come down and celebrate these things. It's really nice.
This is an absolutely great community. I'm so happy that I live here. My wife's from Cloverdale. I said, you got to come and live here. It's beautiful, and we love it. There's parks everywhere, there's nature everywhere, and the people are super friendly. So
I usually put on my social media, Facebook and stuff, oh, it's really beautiful, British Columbia. It's the best place on earth. The scenery everywhere, going outside, even if it's raining, it's always, it always lifts your spirit to be in BC. It's totally different being somewhere else. Like, I visited many cities in Europe and in North America, but BC especially is very special.
I feel I need to be occupied gainfully, so I write. And the other thing is just take life as it comes and enjoy it. I'm thankful for being here, for having good health, and I spent quite a bit of time on a bicycle, and probably that was keeping me going too.
Well, I'd just like to say I love Canada. I think it's the best country in the world.
I would have to echo that and say I love Canada. I love British Columbia. I think we live in an amazing, it really is a supernatural province. Supernatural. I mean, it's everything. This is it. This is the place to be.
Yeah. I want to say to Canada, thank you for being a place that I am proud to call my home. I've been proud to call it home since the day I was born, and I'm proud to call it home today.
Lots of opportunity for people to be reaching out and helping others in the world. And so that's what makes Canada unique.
150 anos Canadá, parabéns.
And can you translate that for us?
150th year Canada, congratulations.
加拿大生日快樂。I love Canada, and I'm glad that I choose Canada to spend the rest of my life here.
We've lost most of our buildings because we build so much stuff out of wood. But so Canada, we better start thinking about. I don't want using the odd brick or stone.
Keep up the good work. Canada is leading the way on so many issues and is very much respected around the world. I have friends in all kinds of parts of the world, not just Australia. Canada is highly looked up to and must continue its good work in looking after people and advocating for those who cannot help themselves.
I was fortunate enough to be born here. Like the gene pool, I was born here in Canada with all of our freedoms, with all of the beauty that we have, all the rights that we have that other people don't have in other places. So we are very fortunate that we were born here. Yes.
Janam Din Mubarak.
So, in English, I'll just say happy birthday.
كل عام وأنتم بخير في كندا. كل عام وأنت بخير كندا في عامك 150.
Joyeux anniversaire Canada.
And from sunny Vancouver, well, joyeux anniversaire Canada.
Canada, salamat po. Thank you for being, I guess, the home that so many people, especially my parents, come to when they're trying to escape a life of poverty and, and want more opportunities in their life. So that's very much appreciated.
I'd like to thank Canada for having my family, grandparents, parents, and myself for close to that 100 years, 150 years. They've been involved. So I feel that my 77 years have been fantastic being in Canada. I'm proud to be a Canadian and proud to live in Port Coquitlam, love BC, Canada. From Bonaventure, when they say this land is my land, I believe that very strongly.
Just thank you for being here, and thank you for being sane.
I would like to say thank you to be part of this beautiful culture.
I would say you rock, Canada.
But I do wish to say thank you to Canada for being a welcoming, multi-ethnic, very diverse country that embraces all the different cultures that are here. And just for, being a great place to grow up and raise a family. So thank you, Canada.
I didn't have a clear picture about what's Canada. Then I came, the picture is different. Actually, it's 100%, I would say 80% different. I thought I'm gonna come to white country because what we see in the media, Canada, it's a Caucasian country. When I came to the airport, I said, wow, so many ethnicity, so many people from different countries. I love Canada, and Canada gave me so much. Gave me the knowledge, gave me the love, and made me wise.
I really love Canada, and I could just start crying right now because I love it. Me too. But I taught my kids to sing "Oh Canada" as soon as they could talk. What I would say is, don't always follow some world trends. Just keep staying on the good path and think of your people. We come from many places, but we all love you.
I just think this is a great birthday all year, not one day, all year. And then we start, and beyond, 150 and beyond.